I've spent my entire professional career studying the complex mathematics of the cosmos. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what appeared in our telescopes just 72 hours unusual in the night sky recently? Any lights that don't move like stars? Any patterns that feel intentional? NASA is currently quietly monitoring reports What I'm about to share may fundamentally change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. My name is Dr. Michio Kaku, and for decades I've stood at the intersection of theoretical physics and the profound questions that keep us all awake at 3 in the morning. Questions about parallel universes, about the fabric of space-time, about whether we are truly alone in this vast cosmic ocean. I've always approached these questions with the measured optimism of a scientist until now, because what emerged between Earth and the interstellar object, known as 3 Atlas, has forced me to confront a possibility I've spent years dismissing as premature speculation. Let me take you back to the month of November 2019. That's when Gennady Borisov, an amateur astronomer in Crimea, detected something extraordinary, an object designated 2I Borisov, only the second confirmed interstellar visitor to our solar system after the infamous Oumuamua. But 2I Borisov was different. It had a tail, it behaved like a comet, leaving a trail of gas and dust as it traveled through our cosmic neighborhood. It was strange, yes, but it was explicable. We could fit it into our models, our equations, our understanding of how the universe operates. Then came 3I Atlas. In March of this year, astronomers using the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Blast Alert System detected a shocking anomaly, another interstellar object moving with extraordinary velocity through the inner solar system. But this one violated several fundamental expectations we hold about objects traveling through the vacuum of space. It had no detectable tail, no visible outgassing, no comet-like behavior despite traveling close enough to the sun that any volatile compounds should have been vaporizing spectacularly. The astronomical community held its breath. We've seen this before with Oumuamua, that cigar-shaped enigma that accelerated in ways that defied conventional physics, as if something were pushing it, guiding it. Harvard's Avi Loeb suggested it might be a light sail, a piece of alien technology riding the solar wind. The establishment dismissed him. I remained curious, but 3I Atlas was different in another way. Its trajectory wasn't following a simple hyperbolic path through our solar system. It was decelerating subtly at first, so subtly that it took weeks of observation to confirm what we were seeing. An interstellar object was slowing down as it approached the inner solar system. And that, my friends, is not something that happens naturally. I remember the conference call with NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office vividly. The silence on that line was suffocating because we all understood what deceleration meant. It meant propulsion, it meant control, it meant intelligence. And then 17 days ago, everything changed. The James Webb Space Telescope, humanity's most sophisticated eye on the cosmos, was tasked with getting a closer look at 3I Atlas. What it captured sent shockwaves through every astronomical institution on Earth. Between our planet and this mysterious interstellar visitor, approximately 0.3 astronomical units from Earth, roughly the distance from Earth to the inner edge of the asteroid belt, something had appeared. Something dark, something that wasn't there in previous surveys. No tail, no reflection of sunlight, no heat signature beyond the ambient temperature of the void itself. An object roughly 2 kilometers in diameter, perfectly spherical, absorbing nearly all electromagnetic radiation that touches it. A dark sphere hanging in the space between worlds, as if it had simply materialized from the quantum foam of reality itself. The initial hypothesis was that it might be a rogue asteroid somehow ejected from the belt by gravitational perturbations, but the orbital mechanics didn't support that theory. This object wasn't following any predictable Keplerian orbit. It was station-keeping, maintaining a fixed position relative to both Earth and 3I Atlas, which itself was still decelerating toward the inner solar system. Two objects, one slowing down as it enters our cosmic neighborhood, another appearing from nowhere to hover in the space between, both exhibiting behaviors that defy natural explanation. I want you to understand something about the universe we live in. Space is not empty. It's a seething foam of quantum fluctuations, dark matter, cosmic rays, and the faint afterglow of the Big Bang itself. When you point a telescope at any patch of empty sky, you expect to see something: distant galaxies, nebulae, the cosmic microwave background. But this object, it's absorbing everything. Light, radio waves, infrared, X-rays, all of it disappears into that perfect sphere, as if it were a wound in the fabric of space-time itself. We call these objects dark bodies. Now, though that term doesn't truly capture the existential weight of what we're dealing with, because within 48 hours of the first detection, 17 more appeared not near Earth, not in our immediate vicinity, but scattered throughout the solar system in what appears to be a precise geometric pattern. 1 near Mars, 3 in the asteroid belt, 2 beyond Jupiter's orbit, 5 positioned at various Lagrange points, those gravitationally stable locations where objects can maintain fixed positions relative to larger bodies, and 4 more at the edges of our detection range, hovering at the boundary between the solar system and interstellar space. 21 dark spheres, each identical in size and behavior, each maintaining perfect station keeping, each appearing within a 72-hour window after the first was detected. The mathematical probability of this occurring naturally is so vanishingly small that it rounds to 0. We're talking about odds that make winning every lottery on Earth simultaneously look probable by comparison. No, this was deliberate, this was coordinated, this was a deployment. I've spent the last intense week consulting with colleagues across every relevant discipline: astrophysics, quantum mechanics, aerospace engineering, even anthropology and linguistics. Because if these objects are artificial, if they represent some form of technology, we need to understand not just what they are, but what they mean. What message is being sent by their mere presence? Dr. Sarah Seeger at MIT, one of our leading experts in exoplanet atmospheres and the search for biosignatures, told me something that's been echoing in my mind ever since. She said, "Michio, in all our models for detecting extraterrestrial intelligence, we assumed they would want to be found. We built radio telescopes to listen for their signals. We sent golden records into the void. We shouted into the cosmic darkness, expecting an echo. But what if we've been wrong? What if they've been watching us this whole time, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves?" Not with a greeting, but with a warning. A warning. That word has been circulating through very secure channels at NASA, ESA, and space agencies worldwide, because the positioning of these dark spheres isn't random. They form nodes in a network. Geometric points that, when connected, create a three-dimensional matrix encompassing our entire solar system. It's a pattern that appears in our own technology, specifically in containment fields and quarantine protocols. Let me explain what I mean. When we study infectious diseases, we establish containment perimeters. We create zones of control to prevent spread. When we design nuclear reactors, we build containment vessels to isolate dangerous materials from the environment. When we simulate civilizations in computer models, we create bounded spaces to observe their development without interference or escape. The pattern these objects have formed around our solar system is mathematically identical to a containment architecture, a cage, a barrier, a cosmic quarantine. But quarantine from what? Or quarantine of what? The most singularly disturbing hypothesis came from Dr. Kevin Hand at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a scientist who has devoted his career to the search for life in our solar system's ocean worlds. He suggested that we might be looking at this backwards. We've assumed 3I Atlas is the visitor, the outsider entering our territory. But what if we're the ones being contained? What if these dark spheres appeared not to study 3I Atlas, but to ensure that we don't reach it? Think about that for a moment. An interstellar object enters our solar system, something that has traveled through the cosmic void for potentially millions of years. And the moment it begins decelerating toward the inner solar system, toward Earth specifically, a network of containment nodes materializes around us, not around it, around us. What does that suggest about how we're perceived by whatever intelligence deployed these objects? Are we the experiment, the quarantine subject, the civilization that must be prevented from spreading beyond its cosmic cradle? I've always been an optimist about humanity's place in the universe. I've written books about our future as a Type 1, Type 2, perhaps eventually Type 3, civilization on the Kardashev scale, harnessing the energy of our planet, our star, our galaxy. I've spoken with passion about the destiny of consciousness to expand, to explore, to comprehend the mathematical beauty underlying all of reality. But what if we're wrong? What if consciousness, intelligence, technological capability, what if these things we consider our greatest achievements are seen by the broader galactic community as a virus, a dangerous contamination that must be contained? There's a fascinating concept in astrobiology called the Great Filter, a hypothesis that attempts to explain why in a universe so vast and ancient, we haven't detected any other technological civilizations. The idea is that there must be some barrier, some filter that prevents life from reaching the stage where it becomes spacefaring and visible across interstellar distances. The terrifying question has always been, is the Great Filter behind us or ahead of us? Did we already pass through the improbable bottleneck, or are we approaching it? What appeared 17 days ago may be our answer. The Great Filter might not be a natural phenomenon at all. It might be artificial. It might be enforced. Let me share something that's been highly classified until very recently. The SETI Institute, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, has been monitoring an unusual pattern of radio signals originating from the space near 3I Atlas. Not from 3I Atlas itself, but from the region of space it's traveling through. These signals are structured, repeating at regular intervals, but they're not directed at us. They're not a message meant for human reception. They appear to be a data stream, information flowing between 3I Atlas and the network of dark spheres that now surrounds our solar system. We can't decode it. The mathematical complexity is orders of magnitude beyond our current capabilities. But we can detect it and we can measure its frequency, its bandwidth, its intensity. And here's what truly keeps me awake at night. The data flow intensified dramatically the moment we achieved a technological milestone. Specifically, when our quantum computers successfully demonstrated quantum supremacy, the point where quantum machines can perform calculations that no classical computer could complete in any reasonable time frame. That was September 2019. Within months, Oumuamua had come and gone. 2I Borisov was detected, and the groundwork was being laid for what we're witnessing now. It's as if our technological development triggered something, a response, a protocol, as if we crossed some invisible threshold that required intervention. Dr. Avi Loeb, who has become something of a controversial figure for his willingness to consider non-natural explanations for cosmic anomalies, told me something profound during a private conversation last week. He said, "Michio, what if the universe is far more regulated than we ever imagined? What if there are rules enforced by civilizations so advanced we can barely comprehend them? What if one of those rules is that young civilizations, aggressive, unpredictable, potentially dangerous, must be confined until they prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community? A cosmic probation, a test we didn't know we were taking. The implications are staggering. It would mean that our development, our history, our struggles and achievements have all been observed, evaluated, judged, and the verdict has apparently been delivered in the form of a containment field that now encircles our entire star system. But there's another possibility, one even more unsettling. What if the quarantine isn't about keeping us in? What if it's about keeping something else out? Stay with me here. 3I Atlas is slowing down, decelerating as it approaches us. That suggests intent, purpose, a destination. What if it's not a probe or a spacecraft in any conventional sense? What if it's something else entirely? A cosmic infection, a form of intelligence that spreads between star systems like a plague, and these dark spheres are an immune response deployed by some galactic defense network we've never detected. In that scenario, we're not the subject of quarantine. We're being protected. The dark spheres aren't a cage keeping us trapped. They're a shield preventing something incomprehensible from reaching Earth. I don't know which interpretation terrifies me more. What I do know is this. The mysterious object between Earth and 3I Atlas, that first dark sphere detected, has begun to change. The James Webb Space Telescope captured something extraordinary 48 hours ago. The surface of the sphere, previously perfectly smooth and featureless, is now exhibiting structure. Geometric patterns are emerging, like circuits etching themselves into existence, glowing with a faint blue luminescence that suggests some form of energy circulation or computation. It's activating or awakening, or perhaps it was always active and we're only now developing the sensor technology sophisticated enough to detect what it's doing. NASA has urgently convened what they're calling the Anomaly Response Committee, a collection of the world's leading scientists, military strategists, and even philosophers and theologians. Because this isn't just a scientific problem anymore, this is existential. This forces us to confront questions about our place in the cosmic hierarchy, about the nature of intelligence and consciousness, about whether free will exists when more advanced civilizations can apparently appear and disappear at will, restructuring the solar system's architecture overnight. I think about the Fermi paradox, that famous question posed by physicist Enrico Fermi. Where is everybody? If the universe is so vast and so old, if life and intelligence are even remotely common, why haven't we seen any evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations? The galaxy should be teeming with them. We should see their signatures everywhere. Megastructures, interstellar communications, evidence of stellar engineering, but we see silence, a cosmic quiet that has puzzled scientists for generations. Maybe now we understand why. Maybe the galaxy isn't empty. Maybe it's occupied but strictly regulated. Maybe civilizations don't broadcast their presence because they're not allowed to. Maybe the universe operates under laws we've never detected, enforced by entities we've never imagined. And every civilization reaches a point where they discover they're not as free as they believed. That point for us might be now. I've dedicated my entire life to understanding the fundamental forces that govern reality. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces. I've worked on string theory, on the mathematics of higher dimensions, on equations that describe the birth and death of universes. I thought I understood the rules of the game we're playing, but these dark spheres, this network that appeared as if conjured from the void itself, they operate by rules I don't recognize. Physics that seems almost deliberate, as if the laws of nature themselves can be rewritten by sufficiently advanced intelligence. Arthur C. Clarke once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But what we're witnessing goes beyond technology. This is something that manipulates the fundamental substrate of reality itself. This is consciousness or intelligence, operating at a level we can barely conceive, let alone explain. And that raises perhaps the single most profound question of all. What does consciousness become when it has millions or billions of years to evolve? When it spreads across galaxies, accumulating knowledge and capability for spans of time that dwarf human history, does it remain recognizable? Does it retain anything we would call personality, motivation, ethics, or does it become something else entirely, a force of nature unto itself, as fundamental to the cosmos as gravity or entropy? I think about my own consciousness, my own awareness of being aware, that strange recursive loop that allows me to think about thinking, to question my own existence and purpose. It seems so utterly miraculous, so improbable, and yet here I am. Here we all are, conscious beings on a planet that somehow assembled the precise conditions for consciousness to emerge. But maybe consciousness isn't rare. Maybe it's inevitable, woven into the mathematical structure of the universe itself. Maybe it emerges everywhere the conditions allow, like crystals forming in a supersaturated solution. And maybe, just maybe, it's all connected, a universal consciousness expressing itself through countless individual nodes, each one a unique perspective on the same underlying reality. If that's true, then what appeared around our solar system might not be separate from us at all. It might be us or an aspect of what we're destined to become, reaching back through time to guide or constrain our development at this critical juncture. I know how that sounds. I'm a physicist, not a mystic. But when you stare long enough at the equations that describe our universe, when you contemplate the fine-tuning of physical constants that allows for the existence of stars and planets and life, you start to wonder if there's something deeper at work, something that wants to understand itself and uses creatures like us, temporary patterns of organized complexity, as instruments of that understanding. The dark sphere nearest to Earth is now distinctly emanating a signal, not radio waves, not anything on the electromagnetic spectrum we normally monitor. It's a gravitational wave, a ripple in space-time itself, oscillating at a frequency that corresponds to, and this is where it becomes almost poetic, the frequency corresponds to the hydrogen line. That fundamental frequency at which hydrogen atoms absorb and emit radiation, the most abundant element in the universe, the building block of stars, the element that fills the cosmic void. It's a universal constant, a frequency that any technological civilization would recognize because it's written into the fabric of chemistry itself. They're speaking to us in a language we cannot fail to notice, even if we don't yet understand what's being said. Teams at the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory are working around the clock to decode this signal. Early analysis suggests it's not random. It contains structure, repetition, what might be mathematical sequences. It's a message or a warning or perhaps instructions. But here's what haunts me. The signal is also being broadcast outward toward the edge of the solar system and beyond toward 3I Atlas and whatever lies in the interstellar deep. It's a beacon, a loud announcement, a declaration that says something is happening here. Something is emerging or has been discovered. Pay attention. We are being discussed, evaluated. Decisions are being made about us by intelligences we cannot see using criteria we don't understand with consequences we can only imagine. I find myself constantly returning to a question I've pondered throughout my career. What is humanity's purpose? Why are we here? Are we just an accident, a statistical fluctuation in an indifferent universe, or is there meaning embedded in our existence? Some role we're meant to play in the cosmic drama. For the first time in my life, I feel like we're about to get an answer. Not the answer we hoped for, perhaps, not a warm welcome into a galactic federation of enlightened beings sharing wisdom and technology, but an answer nonetheless. The dark object between Earth and 3I Atlas slowly continues to evolve. Its surface now shows what appears to be writing, not in any human language, but in pure mathematics, equations manifesting in light, describing relationships we're only beginning to comprehend. Our finest mathematicians are studying these inscriptions, these cosmic hieroglyphics, trying to understand what they're telling us. One thing has become clear. They're describing us, our solar system, our planet, our species, but they're also describing something else, a trajectory, a future, a probability space of outcomes that branch like a tree, showing all the possible paths humanity might take from this moment forward. And in most of those branches, in most of those futures, something tragically goes dark. We vanish from the calculation. Whether that represents our extinction, our transcendence, or something else entirely, we cannot yet determine. But there's one branch, one narrow pathway through probability space where something extraordinary happens. In that future, the dark spheres don't disappear. They transform. They become doorways, thresholds to something beyond. And through them, humanity steps out of quarantine and into a universe far stranger and more magnificent than we ever imagined. The question is, how do we reach that future? What do we need to do or become or understand to navigate from here to there? I don't have the answer yet. No one does. But I know this. We're rapidly running out of time. 3I Atlas will reach the inner solar system in approximately 4 months. Whatever process has begun, whatever test or transformation we're undergoing, it will reach its conclusion when that object arrives. 4 months to prove ourselves. 4 months to demonstrate that consciousness emerging on Earth deserves to continue to expand, to take its place among whatever communities of mind exist in the cosmic depths. 4 months to answer a question we've been asking since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone was looking back. Are we worthy? I think about all the pivotal times throughout human history when we faced existential challenges, moments when our survival hung in the balance, when the choices we made determined whether civilization would flourish or fail. The invention of agriculture, the development of writing, the Industrial Revolution, the nuclear age. Each transition brought us closer to this moment, building the technological and intellectual capacity necessary to understand what's now being revealed. Everything we've achieved, everything we've learned has been preparation for this. We just didn't know it. And now, as I look anxiously at the data streaming in from telescopes around the world, from satellites monitoring the dark spheres, from quantum computers attempting to decode the gravitational signals, I feel something I rarely experience: genuine uncertainty about humanity's future. Not pessimism, I've never been a pessimist, but uncertainty. A recognition that we've reached a fork in the road and the path we take from here will echo through cosmic time. Whatever happens next, whatever these objects represent, whatever message or judgment they carry, we need to face it with the best of what makes us human: curiosity, courage, compassion, and that peculiar quality of consciousness that allows us to contemplate our own existence and choose in whatever limited way we can what we become. The universe is clearly speaking. The language is mathematics, physics, the fundamental grammar of reality itself. And we are being asked a question we must answer not with words, but with our actions, our choices, our evolution as a species. So I'll ask you again, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky? Because what happens next won't be decided in laboratories or government facilities alone. It will be decided by all of us collectively as we navigate this threshold together. Follow this channel as we continue tracking these developments, as we decode the messages written in gravitational waves and cosmic geometry, as we stand witness to humanity's most profound moment of contact with whatever lies beyond our small corner of space and time. Because somewhere out there in the darkness between stars, in the vast computational networks of intelligences we cannot fathom, a decision is being made about us. And I have to believe. I choose to believe that consciousness, wherever it emerges, whatever form it takes, recognizes itself in others. That intelligence seeks connection, not destruction. That the universe in its deepest nature tends toward complexity, creativity, and the preservation of awareness. But belief isn't certainty. And as that dark object continues its transformation, as the network around our solar system completes whatever protocol it's executing, I'm left with a question that demands an answer. Not from me, but from you. If we are being tested, if this is our moment to prove that consciousness born on Earth deserves to continue its journey into the cosmos, what does that consciousness need to become? And are we capable of that transformation before 3i Atlas arrives and the judgment becomes final?